Let's be honest, most chatbots you see out there are, well, they're just text boxes. But what if your AI could do more than just talk back? What if it could actually build a user interface right there in the middle of your conversation? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to build. A chatbot that doesn't just reply with words, but with real interactive visual components. Right now, we're kind of trapped in this text in, text out world. You ask a question, you get a paragraph back. It's fine, but imagine breaking out of that box. Imagine the conversation itself becoming the interface, something visual, dynamic, and instantly useful. Think about it. You ask for the weather, and instead of just getting a line of text, a live visual weather card just pops right up. Or maybe you ask about a stock, and you see an interactive chart appear instantly. This is the power we're going to unlock today, turning these AI responses into rich, interactive experiences. And this whole idea, this big shift in how we build and interact with AI, it actually has a name. It's called generative UI. And trust me, it's more than just a fancy term, it's a fundamental change in how we think about interfaces. So, what does that really mean? Well, it means the AI isn't just spitting out text anymore. It's actually thinking, it's making decisions, and then it's directly creating visual components inside your application. It's kind of like we're wiring the model's brain straight into your UI. Let's quickly walk through how this works. It all starts with you, the user, asking something like, hey, what's the weather in San Francisco? The AI model gets that and it recognizes it needs to fetch live data, so it calls a function. We call this a tool. That tool runs, grabs the weather data, and then hands that data off to a visual UI component, which instantly renders right there in the chat. It's a simple four-step dance, but it is incredibly powerful. Now, to build all this, we are not starting from scratch. Thankfully, we have a powerful toolkit designed specifically for this job, the Vercel AI SDK. Okay, so the SDK has a few different parts, but we're going to focus on two. First, there's the core library, which just lets you talk to any AI model you want. But the real magic for us today is in the AI SDK UI package. It gives us these pre-built functions, or hooks, for frameworks like React and Next.js that handle all the complex chat logic for us. And the best part? It is absolutely ready for production. All right, enough theory. Theory is great, but let's actually build this thing. We're going to start by building a simple text-based chatbot, and then we're going to give it some serious superpowers. We're going to break this down into three super simple steps. First, we'll get our Next.js project set up with all the right packages. Then we'll create the backend API route that's going to talk to the AI. And finally, we'll build out the front end to actually display our conversation. First up, the project setup. You're going to pop open your terminal and create a new Next.js app. Then we'll install three key packages: the core AI library, the @AI_SDK/React library for all our UI hooks, and Zod, which is a neat little library to help us structure our data. After that, you just add your API key to a local environment file, and we're ready to code. All right, next up is our server-side logic. This is really the heart of our chatbot. It's the piece of code that's going to receive messages from our UI, forward them to the language model, and then stream the response right back. And seriously, look at how little code this takes. The SDK gives us this amazing function called stream text. All we do is pass it our AI model and the message history, and it handles all the complex streaming stuff behind the scenes. Then we just use a helper function to format the response and send it back to our front end. That's it. That's our entire backend. So with the backend ready to go, it's time to build the UI. And thanks to the AI SDK, this is where we get to avoid a ton of repetitive boilerplate code. On the front end, believe it or not, it's even simpler. We import a single hook called useChat. This one function is a powerhouse. It manages everything for us. It keeps track of all the messages, it gives us a function to send new ones, and it automatically handles all the communication with our backend API. It's just incredibly efficient. Okay, so we have a working text-based chatbot. That's great. But now it's time for the main event. Let's give our chatbot the ability to perform actions and actually generate UI. This is where it gets really, really exciting. So how do we give it these superpowers? We use something called tools. Now, a tool is really just a normal JavaScript function that you make available to the AI. But here's the crucial part. You don't tell the model when to use it. The model intelligently decides, all on its own, based on the conversation, that it needs to call your function. And adding a tool is a really straightforward four-step process. First, we define the tool itself, the function. Second, we tell our API about it. Third, we create a nice little React component to display the tool's output. And finally, we just teach our UI how to render that new component when it sees it.
Okay, check this out. This shows you the simple but powerful change we make on the front end. Before, on the left, we were just rendering text. Now on the right, we add a simple check. If the message from the AI is a tool call for our weather function, we don't render text. Instead, we render our custom weather component and pass the data from the tool directly into it as props. It's a tiny code change for a huge leap in functionality.
Okay, to really see how this all clicks together, let's trace a single request from start to finish. Let's see exactly how this whole thing connects. So the user asks about the weather. The LLM sees this and it decides to call our display weather tool, passing in SF as the location. Then on our server, that function runs and fetches the real data. That data is then streamed back to the client where our useChat hook catches it and hands it to our UI. And finally, the UI renders that weather component with the live data. It's a completely seamless, automated flow. What we just built is the foundation for something even more powerful, and that's AI agents. This is really the next level of abstraction. The key idea with agents is all about structure and automation. Instead of just having logic scattered in an API route, an agent lets you package an AI model, its tools, and its whole purpose into one reusable unit. And more importantly, it can handle complex, multi-step tasks by automatically looping. It calls a tool, gets the result, thinks again, calls another tool if needed, all on its own. The AI SDK gives us a fantastic starting point with something called the Tool Loop Agent. It takes care of this entire back-and-forth process for you. You could ask it something that requires multiple tools like, what's the weather in New York in Celsius? And it'll automatically call the weather tool, then call a conversion tool, all without you having to write any of that complex control logic. So we've gone from a simple text box to a user interface that can dynamically build itself based on an AI's own reasoning. You've basically given your UI a mind of its own. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?